Thank you so much for being here, Maryam. The challenge in having someone so talented as you and so accomplished in so many artistic disciplines is, where do we start? And how can I share both the magnitude of what you've done and who you are while giving us like a specific jumping off point? So I got it down to one thing, and you are a storyteller. When you were younger, you used dance to tell stories. A member of Arthur Mitchell's Dance Theater of Harlem, scholarship to the Martha Graham School of Contemporary Dance. You got your BFA at Temple University as a dance major. You danced for the second company of Joan Myers Brown's Philadanco.
Wow, yes.
And then finally dancing on Broadway in the Tony Award-winning revival of 42nd Street in 2001. Holy moly. And then we're only talking about, these are the beginning years.
You have done your homework, Colleen. Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting hearing that kind of come back into my consciousness, because I forget, I'm older, a little long in the tooth. So those were my 20s, and I just forgot. Sometimes you forget where you come from. So thank you for acknowledging that. Yes.
Absolutely. And then while you were doing 42nd Street, you also then created your production company, Epiphany 3 Films, to start producing your own work. Your inaugural project was the award-winning Lavender, an adaptation. You've created both in the film and digital space. You went on to produce projects for BMW, Toyota, Monster, IBM, award-winning independent film called American Falls. Your 2006 project, Real Moms, Real Stories, Real Savvy, won 3 Telly Awards. So not only are you doing it, are you creating, but you're being recognized by your peers and by the industry as doing incredible work.
I knew when I was working on Broadway, which was an amazing opportunity, and it is an honor and a privilege to be able to do that. I was one of 3 African-American women in the show. So for me, that was a very big deal. It was a time where they did not have a lot of persons like myself on Broadway, so they were specifically looking for people to fill that that was an early DEI thing, if you will. That was very we're having an ethnic call, we're looking for Black women, women of color. So for me, that was a real big accomplishment, coming from a person who grew up in Harlem, who traveled the world and had a lot of aspirations, but I didn't think that I could ever be on Broadway, so that was a big deal. And being on that show and doing the work that I was doing, I quickly realized that this was an anomaly. Not every film or television production in New York City, or even broadly across the dynamic aspect of film and television at that time, were looking for people who look like me. So I formed Epiphany 3 Films to give myself an opportunity to do work, to work and star in my own films, to give people opportunities to star in films that I wanted to create. And it also gave me an opportunity to learn the craft, to write. I wrote all of the films that I was producing with Epiphany 3 Films, Lavender being the first one, and it won at the Real Sisters of Diaspora Film Festival, one of the best films that year. I think it was in 2003, something like that. And it really kind of cemented for me, this is something that I can do, and this is something that I want to do, and if I did it for free, I would do it. And it's about having a dream, figuring out a way to realize that dream. I remember I had a tax return, probably the biggest tax return I've ever had at that time. As I said, I was in my 20s, so prior to that, I hadn't made a lot of money, but Broadway gave me an opportunity to really realize my financial goals and dreams. So with that tax return, I shot my first film. I used the return to shoot Lavender, and that's how I got it made. Before the crowdfunding and the GoFundMes, a lot of filmmakers at the time had to figure things out, and that's how I did it.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's how everything has happened for you. You take this win, you're on Broadway, have that beautiful tax return, funnel it into filmmaking, funnel it into writing, which also funnels into your acting work, which then leads into you publishing, and now you are teaching at New York Film Academy. It's incredible how you take what the current situation is and then reach for your next goal and then achieve that goal. That's the thing about you. You achieve, you actualize, you do the thing.
It's true. I have to say, and not to be I'm just some mastermind in the thing, but what I do know is that I'm an artist. I am a storyteller, and there's so many things I want to do that I haven't done yet. I have a plethora of things that I still want to achieve, but I do know, okay, there is an interest in this thing. Let me do that. Okay, I've produced. I've won awards producing. Okay, now let me write. I want to try that. And so I never limit myself in terms of what is possible. If I can think about it, then I know I can do it. And I will do what is necessary to get the skill set to be able to do it. So prior to filming, we talked about mentorship. When I was writing and kind of beginning this new production company, I found a mentor. And he helped me make Lavender with someone who taught me the business. He taught me the idea of producing. He helped me to understand that, you're the top, you're the executive producer. You have to be the first one on set, last one to leave. All of those things I learned through the tutelage of this particular person. And every step of the way, whether it's producing, whether it's writing, whatever it may be, I always align myself with someone who knows a little bit more than me so that I can do the best job that I possibly can. So.
Wow. And you did Lavender, and you've actually done all these projects without having a film degree or a screenwriting degree. But like I said, you were born a storyteller and spent so many years telling stories. Yeah. Did it feel like second nature? Like this is the natural evolution?
I come from a family who are always shooting the dozens, telling stories. Many people don't know this, but my uncle is Dapper Dan. And Dapper Dan is an icon in Harlem and in the fashion industry. He was one of the people who, in the 80s, did a lot of counterfeit clothing that became very popularized by rappers and drug dealers and all those types of people at that time. And we used to sit in his clothing atelier on 125th Street and listen to stories, things that you probably would never hear without the safety of a place like that. And so I always was a part of the storytelling kind of griot scenario because of my family. Even at Thanksgiving, we would have a large table of food and family, and my uncles and my father and my aunts would tell stories about how they grew up in Harlem, and before it was a thing of asking for money on the subway, they were asking for money on the subway, like just all kinds of crazy, outlandish experiences that they had growing up. And so for me, that's always been a part of who I am, and I picked it up naturally because this is where I come from. And so when it came time to me to turn it into something real and professional, it really was a natural kind of transition. But what I had to do is really become clear about the skill, the actual technique of it. It's one thing to have the talent. I think many of us have natural talent, but it's another thing to actually have the ability to turn that talent into a skill. And so for me, it was more about, yes, I know how to tell a story, but now let me find someone who can help me make it real, who can help me really make something out of this and make it viable.
How did you find your mentor?
So when I first started writing back in the days of the Lavender, I had a very good friend who was a filmmaker as well, who I auditioned for as an actor. He had cast me in one of his films, and I shared with him, like, I'm really into this writing thing. Like, who do you know? And so he referred me to a very good friend of his who was also one of his mentors, and he taught at NYU. At the time, I was not enrolled in NYU, but he agreed to teach me. And so I would get up, leave Brooklyn every day at 6:30 a.m. to meet him at 7:30 a.m. at NYU and take an hour class with him. And he taught me as a independent client who got me started in my writing journey, like just really from the ground up. I had no prior experience learning how to write. And I gotta admit, at the time, it was a little above me. I was like really struggling to get the concept. It was a bit high level thinking, but it didn't deter me. It didn't stop me. I got what I needed from this particular mentor. And then I found another mentor. I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York, studied with a woman who taught me how to write for television, got that under my belt. And I just kept looking for people who can give me information. Then I was able to synthesize that information and make it work for me. And what that did was it taught me that, number one, if I want to do something, I got to learn how to do it. I got to learn how to do it good, because there are a lot of writers, there are a lot of actors, and everyone is just as talented as myself. And the second thing that it taught me is I have to get my work into the right hands. So later on, when I moved to California, after leaving New York for some time, I met a woman who was also another mentor of mine, Ivana Chubbuck, who introduced me to a woman named Kat Graham, who was looking for a writer for a film that she had the rights to. Ivana, as I mentioned, had read some of my work previously and recommended me for this particular job. And that became my first Hollywood experience, my first writing job based on a referral. Because number one, like I said, you need to get your work into the right hands. And number two, you need to know what you're doing.
Right.
And I had a great kind of rapport with Kat, and I ended up writing Mountain High, which is the biopic for Tammy Terrell, and that put me on my professional writing journey.
Wow. Hearing it now, I'm like, oh, it's like that. It's like just like that. What? But
I wish. Yeah, a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that part of it. That's incredible.
Yeah. I was new to LA, very green. I didn't really know the ins and outs. LA is a very different market. I think everybody knows that. I was coming from New York, so it was a very different experience. So when I got here, I was like, oh, they're going to roll out the red carpet. They've been waiting for me. No, boo. Just everybody calm down. There's a line. Get in line. So I realized, okay, I need to still do the acting, still do my training, but I also need to shift gears. And so a part of that was, I want to write a play, and I'm going to put it in the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Let me develop this play in class with this particular teacher. And in doing that, people began to see me more as a multifaceted, not just as an actor. From there, that gave me the space to kind of grow and know that there is something here. There's something in this thing that I have. And so I was able to transition and work as an actor and as a writer. And that for me was really, really brilliant, I think.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, like, letting people see at the Fringe Festival, no, I act and I write.
Yeah.
I'm not just someone who says that.
Yeah.
Do you think that people need to see it in order to really understand?
I believe that.
Yeah.
I do. I think people need to see it. I think that, we're in a town where everyone is an actor. Everyone is, the thing. But you have to have the chops to back it up, right? So, investing in myself, and I think that is the theme, like most people that we see who are really successful and who we aspire to are investing in themselves. And a lot of times it's not always the audition that kind of plucks you out of the crowd. Sometimes you got to do a little bit more work, like the Lena Dunhams, like the Issa Raes, like the Michaela Coel. Like these women have forged a path for themselves, and look, they have the fruits to say that this labor was worth it.
Absolutely. I remember when Issa Rae went from Awkward Black Girl web series, and I think that was maybe I might have my facts wrong, didn't do the research on this, but I think maybe that started during the writer's strike of 2007, 2008.
It was early 2000s, yep.
Yeah, when she did her web series, and then to see her get a show, it was just like mind-blowing.
In the show in a very, very big way.
Yes. Oh, yes.
In a very, very big way. That hadn't really been done before. Like, nobody really at the time prior made the jump from YouTube, because that's where her stuff was at, and Facebook, to HBO. Like, that was a big deal. And so I think, again, it just speaks to this idea of, I don't know if she's gone to film school. I didn't do the research on that myself. But it speaks to this idea of taking the wheel in driving the train. Like, you really have to really consider investing in yourself, because no one cares about your career more than you do. That's a fact.
Right. I think with taking the wheel, there's a bit of like learned helplessness that I've noticed maybe in the acting community in LA, maybe in LA in a broader sense. I find people get so driven, and then when things don't happen, they crash. Or maybe I should speak for myself. I will go really hard, and then when I don't see the fruits of my labor right away, I need to like stick my head in the sand a little bit, and then it's so much harder to get back out and do it. Have you ever experienced that?
Please, let me tell you, there was a time where I have to give a shout out to Stan Kirsch Studios and Colleen specifically. There was a time when I knew that this was the path for me, and I knew that there was something to this comedic actress thing that I have, because before I hadn't really discovered it until I got to the studio. And because the universe knows what it's doing, I had gotten to chemistry reads for the NBC Diversity Showcase, and I had been working with yourself on this audition, and I didn't get it. And I remember I just knew, I was like, this is it. My career is going to change. This is happening. And because I had been studying at this studio, it had never happened to me before. I get a call from the casting director at NBC, and she was like, listen, you were so good, but we just decided to go a different way. I don't know if they didn't do the particular scene or whatever it was, but I didn't get it. And I remember wanting to stick my head in the sand and wanting to just like, you know, I've put so much and I invested so much and so much money and privates and this. And I felt like very defeated. But then I remembered something. I was like, she didn't have to call me. She called me. She called me on my phone. Okay? It is a testament to the work that we do, even if you don't get it. Even if it doesn't turn out the way that you think it should. It still does not negate the fact that there is talent there and that you know what you're doing and your instrument is on point. And so for me, I don't throw my head in the sand anymore because I'm so clear that this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my vocation. This is not a side hustle. This is what it is. Whether I make $1 million or $2, this is it. So for me, what I have done, and I'm a mom, I'm a single mom. What I have done is figure out a way to navigate my desire with my everyday and continue to do my vocation because there's nothing else I would rather do. So I don't stick my head in the sand because I don't have the time to do it. And I would encourage other people to consider doing it the same way because we don't have that kind of time. We need to keep going.
I will never forget how funny you were in that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough Kegels I could have done to not pee my pants. You know what I mean?
That was probably the best audition. I think that goes down in the history of the best auditions I've ever put on tape ever in my life. It was so good. I gotta say, it was the best. And it was the perfect scene. I think it was the perfect scene. You know?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. The stars were aligned, but, you know, it didn't happen. But that's okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that you pointed out that she didn't have to call you.
She didn't have to call me.
Yeah.
She got things to do. She don't have to call me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, I think that was the win, you know, because they still saw me, even though it didn't turn out the way that I thought it would happen.
Sure.
They see it. Mm-hmm. You know, I say that all the time on my Instagram posts. You see it. You see it. They see it.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think it kind of goes back to the idea that two things can be true at once. You don't move forward with this project, but they love you.
They love you.
It's not that if you don't get it, nothing has happened.
That's right.
Nothing has come from it.
And they have called me. They have called me since. You know, it's never been a thing. I've booked with NBC, obviously. You know what I mean? Since then. So they see it. You know what I mean? So the idea of sticking your head in the sand for me is not an option.
Yeah.
It's not an option.
Can we talk about 2015?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny. 2015 feels like a lifetime ago, but at the same time, it's very palpable. It's like right at the tip of my tongue, you know. In 2015, I have gotten pregnant with my first child. I was a geriatric pregnancy. That was crazy, and it was one of those things where I'm going to be very, very candid, and I think a lot of women could probably relate to this. Growing up, I was always prepped with information that was supposed to serve me, like don't get pregnant. You know, you have, you know, a future ahead of you, you know. So when I got married, it was a lot of that programming still embedded in my body. So I waited a long time to get pregnant because I didn't feel that it was a safe thing to do. Mm-hmm. I thought it was, I want to have a career. But no, really it was more about this programming that if you get pregnant, your life is over, essentially. So when I got pregnant, number one, I was surprised because I don't remember having sex. I was like, did I have sex? Okay. That happened? Okay, great. Okay. And then when it kind of settled in my body, I was very happy. You know, it was like a real thing, you know, and it obviously brought me and my husband closer, and it just became a real moment of I can do this. And I started working more. I booked a job, which is also very interesting because when I booked a job, I wasn't showing. When I showed up on set, they were like, oh, I was like, hey girl. You know, so that was a thing that we'll get into later. So we got about 7 months into the pregnancy and I started having a lot of challenges. I had headaches. I felt dizzy. I had a lot of pain and I didn't know what was going on. My mother finally told me, you need to go to the hospital. And I learned that I had preeclampsia, which is essentially high blood pressure, and the baby is poisoning me. And so They kept me one day. I had a prenatal appointment. They was like, you can't go home. I'm like, oh, I'm going home. No, miss, you cannot go home. And I was a very non-conforming patient. And I learned that my baby wasn't growing in utero. She had stopped moving. She had stopped eating. My placenta was not functioning properly, and that I had to get an emergency C-section. So that was very, very traumatic for me. I was 7 months, which is 30 weeks, which is not the time to take out a baby. Usually someone goes anywhere from 34, 36 to 40 weeks in utero. So I was very nervous about having my daughter because I wasn't sure what that would look like. When the doctor tried to take her out, she was stuck because she was breached. My doctor jumped onto the table. I'm looking up at her and I see her digging into my guts, pulling my daughter out. And finally I could see her legs come out. She jumped off the table and took off running. My husband took off running. They had to resuscitate her because she was not, well, I guess resuscitate. She wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember thinking to myself and saying out loud, breathe, Ayodélé, because I already knew what her name was going to be. And I kept saying it and I kept saying it. And then I heard her scream. And I knew at that point, okay. So she came. She came early. And she was in the NICU for 2 months for the time that she would have been in my stomach.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty much how they do the math. And so because she was so tiny, she was 2 pounds, 5 ounces.
Oh, my.
She was she was probably the size, in fact, she was the size of my hand, my palm.
Wow.
She was that small. I don't even remember having her. I was shot up with so many drugs, magnesium, all kinds of stuff. They gave me magnesium to speed up her lung development because her lungs were not viable at that point. And I remember waking up the next day and I asked my husband, did I have the baby? Like, I was so out of my body. Yeah. They rolled me into the NICU because I couldn't walk in a hospital bed. And I saw my baby for the first time. So that was her birth. It was, I'm giving you the abbreviated highbrow version, but Sure. It was a very traumatic experience. But my daughter is a strong kid. Even though it looked dire in that moment, I could see that her spirit was in her body. She was there. Ooh. She was rooted. She was there. The little body was not quite what I thought. I was like, I have an alien baby because it's not looking like a baby. But, you know, she was there.
Yeah.
And I was really just overwhelmed. Her name means the joy is in the home. And I was just overwhelmed with joy to know that she came through and that she survived her birthing experience. Mm-hmm. And then 8 months later, my husband died. He just dropped dead. And what's so interesting about that, I haven't gotten emotional about this story in a very long time, but I am an actor, right? So my vessel is alive. Prior to her being born, we took a pilgrimage to Africa. I don't tell the story often. And what we did was we committed ourselves to our tradition, our cultural tradition. We committed ourselves to our beliefs. And we committed ourselves to God together as a family because we knew that we were having this baby. And I had a tremendous amount of faith that I put into him and to the decision we made as a family. And so having her was like the icing on the cake. And then when he died, I lost all faith in life, in my ability to make decisions, just everything, you know. And I placed a lot of blame on his passing because I didn't understand why something like that would happen. You know, when it came time to, because he died in such a peculiar way, he had to be in the morgue for a period of time. There's a lot of processes that I didn't expect. Sure. And then we had to get him to Philadelphia, where he's from, because, you know, I felt very strongly that his mother needed to put him in the ground with me. You know what I mean? His mother was still alive, and I just didn't feel good about doing it in California. So with the clothes on my back, after 2 weeks of trying to get his body, I didn't pack a bag. I just flew with my family and my daughter in tow to Philadelphia one day in the cold winter in February. I don't know if you've been to Philadelphia in February in the cold. It is not cute. And I didn't have a coat. I didn't have anything because I was just so like in this place of grief that I didn't even pack a bag. Like we just got on a plane, you know? Yeah. And so, funny story, death is full of comedy. I don't know if you know that, but crazy things happen when people die. And we were shipping his body to Philadelphia. We get to the airport. We get to the boarding, and they tell us they changed planes. And I'm like, what do you mean you changed the plane? Well, is he on the plane? I mean, we So I'm starting to panic a little bit. Like, wait, did he make it on the plane? So we get on the plane. I'm crazy now. I lost my husband, so the grief is just overwhelming, and I'm not thinking clearly. We get on the plane, and I gave my baby to my aunt. I'm looking around. I find the flight attendant. I said, excuse me, I need you to check and make sure my husband's on the plane. She's like, oh, okay, well, what seat is he in? I said, no, he's not sitting down. She was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, he's dead. You got to look on the manifest and check and see if he made it on the plane. I was like mad. Like, what you mean? So she was like, okay, miss. And so she like scurries off. And I'm waiting and I'm mad. I'm like, they changed the plane on me. Colleen, they changed the plane. That's not, because in my mind, there was a plan. There was an order to things.
Lord.
She comes back and she's like, miss, he's on the plane. I was like, okay, thank you. Because you don't think, I was having a meltdown of epic proportions, okay? And it was I look back on it now and it's very funny. Yeah. But in the moment, there was I can go on. There were so many things comedic-wise that occurred. And, I always say he was such a low-key guy. But the way he died, boy, it was like a show on shows, just show after show after show. So, so that was 2015.
Oh my goodness.
2016, he passed away in 2016. I talk about this all the time, and I've said this to you many times, is that I was an artist before, but I didn't have anything to say until he died. And I realized that I had been living as a shell of who I really could have been. I didn't have the capacity to know that I had more to offer the world until he died. I didn't know. His passing made me a better mother. His passing made me more clear about what I wanted in my life and how to use my throat chakra. I was so interested and consumed with pleasing people. None of that is a part of who I am now.
Wow.
None of that. I am very clear and focused about what I want and who I want in my life. I'm clear about, and this is important for artists and for actors especially, who are you doing life with? Who are you choosing to do this thing with? Because for me, you can't do this by yourself, especially if you're in LA. LA could be a very isolating, lonely place. Who are you choosing to walk with you and do this thing with? Mm-hmm. And so his passing gave me the agency that I had not had before, and being a mom. So I'm going to tell you about your friend Ayodélé. So please. Ayodélé is here. He's passed on. She's 8 months old. And one of the things about children, for those who have children or don't, the show must go on. They don't care that you done lost your husband. They don't care about none of that. They hungry. They need their diapers changed. They want to get some air. Like, so my daughter would look at me and be like, okay, girl, so what we doing today? She had no language. She would look at me, and I promise you, my daughter is the reason why I'm here, without a doubt. I had so much grief around him dying. We were such, we were really, no marriage is perfect, but he really was my person. And so when he died, I wanted to die. But my daughter was like, girl, okay, so we going to the zoo today? What we doing? And one day, I'll never forget this. I was laying on the floor, because grief does things to you.
Sure. I
was laying on the floor in New York, because at that point I had moved out of LA and went back home. And my daughter crawled up to me, and she laid on the floor. So we were looking face to face. She's looking at me, I'm looking at her, and she just put her hand on my back. And at that point, I was like, okay, you got to shake this off. You got to shake this off. And so, 2015 was one thing, but 2016, it was a game changer for me. Wow. And so to kind of bring it back to what we're doing here today is that I'm not wishing anybody the kind of grief and loss that I've had. Would never wish that on my worst enemy. But what I will say is that you are given opportunity to use the things that happen to you in life to make you a stronger actor, writer, whatever that looks like. Use it. It fuels you. It pushes you to become the thing. And sometimes, like me, I needed that push. I wouldn't have become who I am if that had not happened to me.
I'm so sorry.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's right. So, I'm grateful that happened. I wish it would have been a little bit different, because Ayo doesn't have her dad, and he was an amazing, amazing human. But he lives through us, right?
Right.
He lives, he left her with everything that she needs. So, and everything that I need. And to be honest, if I'm really getting hokey and spiritual, he can do more for me in death than he ever could do for me in life.
Wow.
So I live with that, and I know that is true.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, real talk. Listen, the way I had to pick myself up off the floor, like I felt like somebody drop kicked me in the chest. Real talk. And you would think in those moments that you would have the support that would naturally come, maybe from family members, extended family members, in-laws and things. But at the end of the day, it was about me and this kid. What am I going to do now? What you going to do, girl? What you going to do? And I think the testing of the thing, the phoenix rising of the thing, is really what it's about. It's one thing for him to die. And truthfully, that was his journey. His time on earth was over. But what are you going to do about it? Think what Michelle Obama said that the other day during the DNC convention. But what are you going to do? Let's do something about it. So I had to do something about it. And I had to show my daughter, even though she's 8 months old, that she also could have something like this happen to her, devastating. And then she will need to pick herself up. And if I don't show her how to do that, how is she going to learn?
Right.
How is she going to know that life is not always Skippy Greens and lilacs? Like, you know, so we decided to write a book together.
Yeah.
Because it was time. She had gone through her grief a little bit later than I did. I was in the moment. I was able to do my thing. I'm still, you know, it's ebbs and flows. But she got to an age where she sees her friends. They have dads in the house. You know, her dad picks her up from school. Like, she started to put the pieces together. Like, oh, I don't have a dad.
Yeah.
Then she realized, what happened to my dad? You know, so she started asking these questions. So we had a hard time between ages 4 and 6 where she was really feeling it, really feeling the loss. And I decided, let's do something constructive. And she was like, okay, well, what does that look like? I said, I think that your journey can help other people, help other kids like you who may have lost a dad or had some kind of traumatic thing. And then she said to me, yeah, mommy, because kids go through things.
Come on.
I mean, what are we talking about, right? What are we really talking about? So I was like, you're right, they do. She decided she didn't want to go to summer camp this summer, last summer, whenever it was. And I said, well, we're going to do a project because you can't just sit around with your thumb up your butt. Excuse my French. So we decided that we were going to write a book. And the book was going to be about how she came to the understanding that not only her dad had passed away, but that he had left all the tools she needs to be successful, you know, to really have a full life.
Yeah.
And so that's what this book is about. It's called This Is My Story by Ayodélé Olayinka. We co-wrote it together. And it's her journey of realizing the strong bond that she has with her father, and that bond has been shifted and changed in a way that will never be forgotten. But that even though he has ascended to his ancestor place, that she still has the ability to call on him through friends and family that she has in her life. And because she has the ability to call on him and find the strength to overcome things, she was able to tackle the obstacle of learning how to swim. And so we equate this goal of learning how to swim and actualizing the acceptance of losing her dad and making it a story about love and perseverance and hope. So we did that together, and it's amazing. It's a great story. I have to say, it's a really great story. And the beauty about that is that we want to show it through her lens, the illustration of starting in black and white, really having this kind of demure approach to what her world looks like. And by the end of the story, it's full Technicolor, is in full bloom, and she realizes and actualizes who she is as a kid. Yeah.
This has been a beautiful gift that I've given to other people. What is the next step for this?
So that book is going to be made into an animated TV series. I'm very excited about that. We're also going to be launching very soon the audio version of the book.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be putting that out in the next, like, I think 10 days.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's like, we're like right on the heels of getting that out into the world. So it's been really, really cool. And I was narrating, so it's going to be nice. Yeah, and it's also on Amazon, or you can find it on our website as well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be other parents listening to this and say, I want to help my child sort of maybe walk through some of their trauma or their challenges. How empowering to write a book.
Yeah.
Would you ever teach others how to?
Yeah, I would love to do that, and I have done that. We have a course that we do where we teach other parents and people just who are desiring to write children's books how to do it. And one of the things that I realize is that people want to do things but don't have the tools and understand like the secrets to making it happen. And I am the kind of person where I don't gatekeep anything. You want to know, I'm going to tell you. So we have a course writing the children's book, and it's also on our website, which I know that we'll share maybe on your socials, etc. But it's on our website, and our website is www.thisismystory.ayodélé.com, and you'll see all of our offerings. She has little products and things that she has on her site, and it's very kid friendly. And we also do pop-up events as well, where other kids can join in and learn how to make their own kind of books, marks, all kinds of things that are educational tools for children.
Yeah. And really, I think empowering.
Absolutely. Kids want their own agency, you know, and I had to come to the understanding that my daughter knows more than I think she does. And I'm allowing her to lead and really kind of take ownership of her life. And so doing this book has been really good for her, and it's given her the confidence that she needs to really go out into the world. And one day she said, Mommy, I see us making these books and we're selling these books, but I don't see the money coming to my bank account. So what I've also done is teach my daughter about money and finance and understanding what it takes to do a project like this and have a business, right? Because we want to give our kids literacy, financial literacy, right? So she asked the right question. I don't know that I like the way she asked it, but she asked the right question, right? And so what we're doing is creating this real understanding about how to live in the world and be entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
So, yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's on how to write incredibly beautiful and empowered children's books. And then what about, do you teach writing?
Yes, I do. So writing is, again, my vocation, and I am a screenwriting instructor at New York Film Academy. I also do one-on-ones and group classes through my own website, iamMyika.com/classes, where I do classes on Saturdays, pretty much on the weekends, where I'll have about 5 to 6 students, and we all go through the process of learning how to write screenplays. That also translates to novels or short stories and creative writing. Essentially what I do is give people tools. A lot of people want to learn how to write, they want to be writers, but they're not good at it. I mean, that's just really the truth of the matter. So what I do is break down what a story, what are characters, how do you present a plot, what do you do to get to your end goal, and really kind of break it out so that they have maybe even award-winning screenplays. For myself, I am a working writer. I am produced, I'm studio produced. I've done films for OWN, Lifetime, Mar Vista. I'm a writer for hire. I'm also a writer who has been recognized by fellowships like Screencraft. I am the 2024 Screenwriting Fellowship finalist with Screencraft. I'm also one of the people matriculating with Writers Lab with one of my films as well. And I have another finalist kind of mentioned with a studio fellowship that I can't say the name because it's under NDA and it's very Hollywood. So this is what I do, you know, and I think I'm pretty good at it.
Wow. The thing, oh my gosh, I'm sort of buzzing right now because you are continuing the tradition of mentorship.
Yeah.
Teaching inspired folk who have stories to tell the nuts and bolts, the actual skill.
The actual skill.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is that people don't give you the actual skill. They kind of string you along and don't give you the tools. For me, it's very important to educate and to give the tools and to pass it on like somebody passed it to me. And it's more important to make and empower artists. I was an actor first, but I knew that if I wanted to keep working, that I need to learn how to do all of the most important aspects of filmmaking. So I became a writer. I know how to produce. I've gotten awards for producing. So I think the more you educate yourself, especially in this climate where things can be a little ebbing and flowing up and down. We don't know what's happening from one moment to the next, particularly out of COVID and strikes, etc. Give yourself an opportunity to do your own thing and not have to rely on someone to hire you. So as a writer, you can do that, okay? You can do that. You can get your film made. You can send it to film festivals. You can get seen. You do not have to get stopped. No one monkey will stop this show.
Oh, I love that so much, and I want to learn from you.
Yes.
How has writing and your producing and seeing your works on the big screen, how has that impacted your acting?
Okay, so what's very interesting about that is my acting has morphed into non-camera voiceover acting more than it has been on camera. So you may have seen me on This Is Us, another NBC show. Like
Yes,
I said,
I did.
NBC, even though I didn't get that Kim read or get that showcase, I should say, I did get the Kim read, they still remember. They see it's always a thing. It's never putting your head in the sand. So I did This Is Us, and after doing This Is Us and really feeling empowered by that experience, I started leaning more into voiceover because I'm a mom, right? And so sometimes it's more effective and efficient in my world to roll up in my pajamas and do a gig here and there and go back home and be with my kid, right?
Yes.
So acting has turned into voicing for video games and for animated shows, which has been very, very cool and very fulfilling for me. And in fact, I love it so much. And ADR looping. So it's been really great. And that has created another opportunity in terms of, continuing the idea of I can do this thing. I think I can do the next thing. I went to study and learn more about how to become a really good voiceover artist so that I can continue to work and be employed. So it's a constant education of the self. And I want to go back to one more thing you said about mentorship. It is my honor and my privilege to mentor and to give people what I have. But I'm also being menteed. I go and I seek out people who know a little bit more than me so that I can get the information I need to continue my journey as an artist as well. So someone is mentoring me. And I think that if you keep that cycle going, you keep yourself fresh. You keep, the people who are under you more attuned to what they need and their goals and their dreams. And I think it's a cyclical thing to do.
I think of it that way when I'm teaching or coaching, and people are like, I knew that you would understand this. I'm like, well, yeah, I've just been doing this particular thing a little bit longer and have seen it a little bit more. Yeah. And I just clocked a few more hours in this.
Right.
So yeah, I'm absolutely here to shine a few lights on things that you don't quite see just yet.
That's right.
And then when you get to that stage, I want you to turn back around and, reach down to the next person.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's our responsibility. You know what I mean? It really, truly is. And that's how we keep art alive.
Yes, and how we build our community.
And how we build community.
Yeah.
Because again, who are you doing life with, right?
Right. When the time is right and all the stars align, what is your next on-screen role like?
Ooh.
Let's speak into existence.
I love this. Yes, say this. My next on-screen role has to be something in the thriller space. I'm very much into genre these days. So in terms of writing, that's where my loins are leaning towards. So if I could do something like that, I think I will be very, very fulfilled, So I see things like Get Out. I see things like Them. Shows like that really light me up. And I haven't seen a lot of those shows get second or third seasons. Like they seem to kind of go away because maybe it's a very specific thing, but I think there's some merit in those, and I love them. So if we can't get them made studio wise, we may have to do it on our own. I don't know, Colleen.
We might have to.
We might have to do it. I feel like we might have to do it.
I'll do anything. I'll bring craft services.
We'll do it all.
I'll hold a boom. Not very tall, but I will hold it.
We can hold it. It's fine. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm really into the genre thing now.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to get goofy in a minute, but first, I'm doing a new thing for the second season of our podcast where I'm coming around to 10 questions that I ask every actor.
Oh, yes, let's go.
These questions originally came from a French series hosted by Bernard Pivot, and they're better known as the questions that James Lipton asked every guest on the end of Inside the Actor's Studio.
I'm so honored. Yes.
So, Miaryam, what is your favorite word?
Shit.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
What is your least favorite word?
Moist.
I feel that. I absolutely feel
There's no reason to ever use that word.
Uh-huh.
No.
Okay, great. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Ooh. I have to say, really intellectual people. The way to get me to do anything is through my brain. Yeah, stimulate my mind, give me something to think about, and I'm all in.
What is your favorite curse word?
Okay, so I said shit already. So my second favorite curse word has to be fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can use that in a lot of ways.
Fuck is like one of those things where it morphs.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes, you can take it on, take it off. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. What sound or noise do you love?
That I love?
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear my baby sleeping.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like a little angel.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
My neighbor has this mower that is driving me crazy these days. I'm not into it. And it's like really loud.
Ugh.
And he don't care.
Damn.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Is he one of those that's like always with the outside?
It's like, you hear this thing. I know you hear it. And all the other neighbors don't like it either. It's a thing on my block. It's really funny, actually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What profession other than your own, than your several other professions, would you like to attempt?
Oh, in my mind, I am a, what do you call it? A real estate investor. I'm flipping houses.
Ooh.
I'm building houses. I'm flipping them. That's like my secret passion.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I also think I'm Bob the Builder. Like, I think I can go in there and like make a thing, but I'm really not that great at it. But I still love to flip. Like, that is, I would be a real estate investor, 100%.
Ooh, I love that. And also, I would watch that show.
Why not?
Yes.
Yeah, when you find out you can't really do it and you break a nail, then you call the guy in. That's like how the show goes. That's the format. You see? I already got it.
What profession would you not like to do?
I don't think I want to clean up after people.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's very vague and broad, but I just feel like that's not for me.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Girl, you did good. Yeah, you did good.
I like that.
Me too.
I like that. Okay, enough with this serious stuff. Okay, so I feel like the last time I saw you in person, we were at Angela's baby shower.
Yes, we were.
And as soon as we sit down, we start talking about what the sun and moon and the planets are doing.
Yes, we did.
I had just sort of learned about my like rising sign.
Yes, we did. Yes.
And how do you, because you are a very grounded person, but you also take a lot of learning from
the stars.
Yeah.
I know. It's so kooky. I do have a kooky side. I do enjoy astrology.
Yeah.
I don't live and breathe by it, but I definitely think that there's something to it.
Yeah.
And I do believe that our astrology charts are our fingerprints, and it tells you what you need to know in terms of what your life is going to be or could be like. Because there's no other person in the world who has your entry point, astrology, whatever, ever. It's only you. You're the only person. So to me, that's a fingerprint of who you are.
Yeah.
So I'm very into it.
Have there been moments like within your life where you're like, oh, Pluto is square this, or Uranus is square, and it creates upheaval, or and you lean into it, or you...
I'm going to tell you something really, really personal and crazy.
Okay.
There's a very, very famous astrologer whose name is escaping me right now. It's going to come to me as I'm talking. And I was determined to get a reading with her, right?
Heidi Rose Robbins.
Heidi Rose Robbins.
Okay.
I get an appointment with Heidi Rose Robbins. Very, very, like, random because there was a wait list. You know, I don't know if you know anything about her. People know anything about her. You ain't getting on. You got to wait, like, months. So one day, her assistant emails me, like, hey, girl, we got a slot. I'm like, sign me up. So I get on there with Heidi Rose Robbins. She's an astrologer. She pulls up my chart. This woman proceeds to tell me, get ready, that it was in the stars that my husband was going to die when he did, and that I was going to have the baby that I did. It was in my chart. She did my chart and his chart and put it together. I was like, Heidi, you better shut the door. And then the way that she explained that our journey together was exactly as it was supposed to be, because it was something that was ordained by the cosmos, sent me to a whole nother place. And believe what you want, but what she said to me really resonated. And then she went on to say that the way that my astrology chart lands now, that it was a natural and the appointed direction for me to go in to be a writer. So the things, I mean, I can't get personal about what she specifically said, but it was enough for me to realize that there is something to this thing about astrology and your fingerprint and it being very specific. So right now, Mercury's in retrograde. We've been in Mercury retrograde for the last 3 weeks. If you look at your life for the last 3 weeks, I am sure there's been miscommunication, craziness, delays, electronics breaking, all kinds of wild business, as I call it, that has been happening. And it makes me realize that there is some greater thing that is working in our favor. You know, my mom said to me once about, I was so upset and how could this happen to me? And she was like, well, why not you? And at the time, I did not appreciate that response. I was like, girl, wrong answer. But then I was like, you know, sometime later, I can appreciate. I was mad, Colin. What you talking about? I need you to rub me down and make me feel better. She like, girl, no. Like, what? So, yeah, I mean, this is all divine, right? It's all on purpose.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, Heidi, she just flipped me on my head one day and sent me on my way.
Damn. I find that so comforting. Whether you find solace in the alignment of the stars or your faith or your connection to a higher power.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, just feeling that everything is happening as it's meant to. Not to say, I hate when something tragic happens, big loss, and people are like, it happens for a reason. Okay, what the fuck is the fucking reason?
Girl,
if you are going to be taken care of no matter what, I can wrap my heart around that.
Yeah, and maybe, you know, choose the time to say that, because maybe that's not the right time to say it, you know, when things are like blowing up in someone's face. But I do know that everything will course correct. It will course correct. So if you're going down the wrong path, something's going to happen that's going to get you back to where you need to be. I believe that 100%. So here we are, you know, we get to wake up and do this thing again and again. Some people didn't get that opportunity. And I want to say one more thing. There's a scene partner that I had who tragically passed away yesterday. And I want to acknowledge him here because, you know, he was one of the people who helped me to understand that it is a gift for us to be who we are as actors. Acting is the most vulnerable and most honest profession that there is. We get to be non-judgmental about the stories we tell. We get to be as powerful or as in agony as we possibly can be to tell a story and to convey a message. And we truly are the vessel for humanity. We truly are the things and the reflection of who we are as people. So I want to acknowledge him because he was the first person that really helped me to understand that. His name is France Turner. And I hope that he gets to sing with his daughter who had transitioned prior to him. And I hope that he and my late husband are having a cigar at some point soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for acknowledging him.
Yeah, thank you.
And as we wrap up, I just want to say I really love you, Miaryam. I'm so grateful that our paths, I want to say collided, but that sounds quite jarring, that we got to meet up in this life.
Me too.
And you bring so much joy to so many people. I always feel so at peace and somehow inspired, and I love who I am around you, and I love you just as you are.
Thank you. And I love you too. And I just want to say that I came alive at Stan Kerr Studios. There was a time before the time when we were in a different place, in different space, and I was very green, and I came to the intensive workshop, and they were like, child, what you doing? I'm like, I'm here as an actor. I'm acting, you know, and they saw the raw talent, but she needed a lot of work, you know, and he put me in Colleen's class, and I think that's when I really started to become a thing. So not only do I love you, but I appreciate the fact that you were able to dig in there and pull something out that I can really be proud of, you know, because I became a thing in LA. It wasn't really, I was floundering, but this studio made me a thing. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. What an honor for us. Yeah. Thank you. And now you get to pick up your daughter.
Because, you know, if I'm late, honey, it's a thing. Where you been, mommy? What you been doing? Where you going? So yes, let me go get her.
The author and the voiceover talent, Ayodélé.
I mean, excuse me. And she's going to this performing arts school, so I don't even know what's going to happen next.
Oh, wow.
I wish I could go to that school. It's such a great school.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited for her.
That's amazing. Thank you. This was wonderful.
Thank you.